Hey folks, this is Chris at Art Secret Studio. We're going through a very beginning painting class where they're learning how to control a brush and how to change the temperature and also how to change the vibrancy of a color. We call the intensity of a color. Basically, through time, there's been 5 different ways that artists have used to change how vibrant and beautiful a color is. In this class, they've already been introduced to a color gets gradually warmer closer to you and cooler farther from the light. Now, to maintain the fact that it's lighter and warmer and darker and cooler, a man named Walter Sargent came up with this concept that if the earth tone that you used, so Sienna, Italy, Burt's raw sienna, and then burnt sienna, and then Umbria, Burt's raw umber, and burnt umber. Now, I don't know if they burn it and make it burnt or it's a different color pigment. It doesn't really matter to me. But what does matter is a specific earth tone goes with a specific color. It's very simple, it's very basic, but I think it's very important. And what I've discovered is, wow, does this work for reds and nature outside? So I hope you like this. If you do, please visit us on our website.
There are 5 ways to lower the vibrancy of a color. For Rafael and Leonardo and Michelangelo, the use of black, which later coined the phrase by a man named Baron, was to add black to a color, was called shading. So Leonardo didn't call it shading, they just added black. But basically what it does is it lowers the intensity. So when I put black down, it makes the color very ugly, and then it starts to make it green. So I call that black incredibly destructive. So when I add black to a color, because black is so dark, it destroys the light colors, and it's hard to work with. And if I have a darker color, like alizarin, or the magentas, or the purples,
The camera needs to go down and tap.
that one's not being filmed. That one's just for you guys. And you're watching me.
Okay.
But thank you. So the black works nicely with the dark colors, but it's horrible for the lighter to medium colors. I don't know if it was a couple hundred years, I'm not sure. I know a man named Sargent, I think it was Walter Sargent, starts introducing to the art world, I think in the 18-somethings, why not use an earth tone that's light to go with a light color? So if I have a yellow and I have an orange and I have a scarlety red, then anytime I have these lighter colors, just clean your brush and have a little raw sienna on it. It lowers the vibrancy, but doesn't destroy the color. And I can do the same thing with the raw sienna with the oranges. And the more you touch, the more the orange comes through and overwhelms the raw sienna. And then I can do the same thing with the raw sienna with the scarlet. And it really keeps it the same value, the darkness. So what happens now is as my color gets darker and it goes to cad red, and then cad red deep, and then alizarin, I go to a darker earth tone. So I go to raw burnt sienna. So I've stuck the raw siennas above or below the colors are going to go with. And the burnt sienna is here. So the burnt sienna, and I'm matching the value of the earth tone to the color itself.
And I asked why, how you figured out raw sienna rather than umber.
Yellow ochre has green in it. Raw sienna leans toward orange. So when I'm painting green leaves, I use yellow ochre. When I'm painting orange things, I use raw sienna. It just works better for me. Raw umber, this is raw umber. So when I add raw umber to yellow, I get that, very much like black. But when I add raw umber to the darker reds, it works rather nicely with the darker reds. You know, so the raw umber goes with the alizarins and the magentas, and the black goes with the violets. Your paint box is a fishing box, but it's lined up from warm to cool. You have all your light colors on the left, your medium colors in the middle, your cool colors on the right, and your coolest on the far right. In the second row are your earth tones, and they're lined up exactly the same. Warm on the left, medium in the middle, coolest on the right. And you can mix the earth tone with colors above and below the colors in the trays. So that little handout I tell you on how to lay your box out, I suggest you use it because it actually will help you figure out what you can mix with what. Now, let me put it to you this way. When I mix color like this, and I only mix warm with warm and cool with cool colors, it makes it very intense, three-dimensional. One day in the class, someone was painting a copy of an Innis, a George Innis landscape from 150 years ago. And it was that twilight time of the night when the sun went down and it's starting to get a little dark and things are flat. You don't have depth, it's looking flat. And we spent 3 hours trying to mix paint for the student, trying to say, well, what color makes the color he has? And I couldn't get it. It didn't matter what we mixed, it was never right. And then I specifically remember driving in the car to lunch, going to Chick-fil-A in the minivan, tells you how old we are and what our priorities were. And I'm heading the minivan to Chick-fil-A, and I said, oh gosh, we mix warm with warm and cool with cool because it makes it realistic in 3D. This landscape of his is flat. I don't want it 3D. As soon as we got back, I said, we need to mix a warm with a cool. So we took alizarin and mixed it to a yellow-green sap green, and we made the brownish black instantly. So, what am I saying here? When you want it to be realistic, when you want it to move in space, then I mix warm with warm, cool with cool, and maintain their value, their intensity, their everything. But when I don't want that, don't do this. This is a choice, a tool. This is not a rule. Some of us don't respond to rules anyhow.